So today we're going to be talking about three new Netflix films in kind of rapid fire style. I'm not going to be spending too much time on any of them, mainly because I don't have a lot to say about them. But I did want to, give you guys my thoughts on them. And I've been stalling on reviewing all three of them. Like I had individual reviews planned out for each of these three movies, but just couldn't get there. Just couldn't watch them in time. Couldn't get myself to care. One of them I regret not reviewing when it came out, just because I took a pretty good liking to it, and then the other two, you'll see. So yeah, let's get started with the very first movie, Lords of Metal. Okay, so Lords of Metal seemed fun. It seemed very by the books and very much like a I don't know, a Netflix teen movie. And you guys have known my issues with modern teen movies, especially Netflix ones recently. I crowned, what was it, Moxie as my worst movie of 2021. That still holds up to this day. But anyway, Lords of Metal, it seemed fine. It seemed okay enough. I kind of liked the premise. It seemed a little derivative of School of Rock, but whatever. And I ended up watching it, and this is just a very whatever movie. It has aspects of it that I found charming and kind of likable, but the majority of it is really mediocre. The lead performances were really awful, especially the guy who played Hunter. He was just so terrible. It was like a drama kid performance. Very, very accurately displayed the annoyance and kind of arrogance and like just stuck-upness of metal kids. Like, I think I wrote my Letterboxd review, or if I did or not, I don't remember. But I said this is the most accurate movie about metalheads, that it being really mediocre and annoying. And I think that very accurately describes this movie. It's very mediocre and kind of obnoxious sometimes. A plot that is so thin, it falls apart practically at the seams. It is so standard and so by the books that they kind of left gaps in the story where there wasn't supposed to be. It proved, like I said, that proves that metal kids are insufferable, and there were some sweet moments that save it from being truly awful. The moments between I don't remember the guys, the one with the glasses, the guy from It, and the girlfriend. There was actually some genuinely sweet and good moments there between them two that I found to be pretty endearing and pretty accurate, honestly. But the rest of the movie just was very thin, very standard, very whatever, and kind of annoying at some points. So I'm going to give Lords of Metal a strong C. It was very much a nothing movie. Choose or Die is the next movie up, and I was actually kind of excited for this film. I'm always intrigued by Netflix horror movies for some reason. Even if they're not great, which the majority of them are not, for some reason they always are interesting, at least to a point. Even if they're horrible, even if they're some of the worst movies I've ever seen, they're always somewhat interesting. There's always something about them. It's like, oh, okay, I'm going to pay attention to that director because of that. I'm going to, look into that effects artist, something like that. One of the biggest examples of that is The Ritual that came out a couple of years ago. I was not the biggest fan of that movie at all. I found it very, very average, but the creature design in that movie in the last 20 minutes really intrigued me, and I ended up really liking the director's next movie. So that kind of goes to show, I just like paying attention to Netflix horror movies because I think they give a shot to up-and-coming horror directors. But this movie, holy shit, this movie was bad. Just a complete mess of a movie. It's basically it has the plot of a Goosebumps episode, but fails to be that at all. Like this is one of those Goosebumps episodes that you would skip over for being really boring when you're a little kid. Like even as a little kid, you watch this thing and like, oh, that wasn't scary, and then skip it. It reminded. This is literally a now that literally as I'm thinking about this right now, this is literally just an episode of The Haunting Hour, I think it was called, the more like preteen show that R.L. Stine did a while, like 10 years ago. That's basically just this, but that there was an episode of that was just this plot. I mean, this movie could not have been any more lazy and any more indirect with what it's trying to say. The script was so bad, and The lead protagonist was so boring. Any sort of emotion or themes that were trying to be conveyed here were just completely lost on me. The acting is awful. What else do I have here? It's not even in the slightest bit scary or unnerving at all. I mean, the part where the lady eats glass was a little ugh, but I mean, God, this movie, when it was not being boring, it was just being actively terrible. And man, Choose or Die was painful to sit through. It was laughably horrible. I mean, and that kind of bumps it up to not being like an utter complete disaster. It is funny bad in a lot of points. I was enjoying my experience with this movie, but not in the right way. This is not a good movie, and I'm gonna give it a D. People are doing yard work out there, so if you hear that, that's what that is. Sorry about that. But anyway, this is the movie I actually wanted to talk about. The movie I was going to do a single review for, or at least a 1-minute review. But Apollo 10.5 is the latest Richard Linklater movie. It is his latest rotoscoped movie, his first since 2006, I think, which is very cool. And yeah, I love Richard Linklater. I think he is obviously one of the best indie filmmakers that's been out there for a while. School of Rock is one of my favorite movies ever. Boyhood is really great. I even liked his I don't know if this was his last movie he made before this, but I liked Last Flag Flying. I thought the movie was pretty okay. But yeah, I like Richard Linklater a lot, and this movie continues that streak. I'm not going to say this is his best movie. I do have some issues with it, but I think they kind of fall to the wayside when you're talking about the overall enjoyment of Apollo 10.5. It is such a sweet movie. It very uniquely portrays nostalgia, and it makes you specifically nostalgic for earlier childhood when things were a lot simpler for my life, and I'm only 17. But it really makes you miss the simpleness of early childhood and the stuff that kind of gets taken away from you as you age. And this movie, I think, is a pretty big metaphor for losing your innocence and going off and leaving the life of simple childhood behind for this greater calling. And I think it's a true story, so it's not necessarily a metaphor, but that's how I interpreted it. And the very unique presentation that it has, not only in just its visual style, because obviously the rotoscope, the animation looks beautiful, it is so well done, how meticulous it is, but the way the story is told is very, very unique. It's I think 90% of it is narrated by Jack Black and has almost a documentary-esque look back into life in the 60s. It goes through every detail of this guy's childhood. It goes through every beat, and that can take away from this movie a little bit. It can ruin the pacing when that whole astronaut thing starts happening. You kind of go, this is kind of just background noise. I don't really want to know about this, because the stuff about the childhood life in the 60s is really good. The storytelling is really, really well done here. I would think this narrative trope is a little obnoxious, but it's really not. It's really used very well. But everything that doesn't involve Jack Black narrating and simpler childhood times, everything that involves him actually going into space is kind of pointless. It's not needed. It feels like two halves of two different movies being told at the same time, which isn't always a good thing. So yeah, that very much holds this movie back a lot, but I would very much recommend this thing for its unique presentation and the beautiful animation and just the warm feeling that it gives you. It's a very comforting movie, and I'm going to give Apollo 10.5 a strong B. So yeah, that is my Netflix roundup review, quick review, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to be doing an actual roundup review in a little bit of 5 movies that came out in theaters that I didn't get to review and or see. And then I have a TV show, a couple of TV shows I'm going to be reviewing. I think that is it, and I will see you guys later.